So let's get going. All right. So let's continue talking about how we can use databases. So we've already talked about data, we've talked about databases, and we talked about database management systems, DBMS. Now we're going to talk about how we can talk with these systems, how we can use it. So we're going to talk about structured query language, or SQL. So what is SQL? SQL is the language that we will use to talk to the database management system. So remember in the example we had the data was like books, and the database was like the library, and the database management system was like the librarian. So SQL is how we talk to the librarian. And remember that computers, they can't understand the language that we talk to other people with, English or Japanese or any other language. So we need to use a programming language to talk with the computer system. So structured query language is that language. So before we can actually use the data, we need to first create the database. Specifically, we have to create the table. So how do we define tables? Tables are where our data lives. And they look something like this, right? We've seen some examples of data, of column names. And so, for example, we might have this customer table, and it might have these columns: ID, name, address, phone. And each table or each column needs a name so that we can refer to it. It needs a type, and it needs a length if it requires that length. So in this example, we have this data, but we need to actually tell the database system what this table looks like, what this structure looks like. And we do that with SQL. So this code right here is how you create a new table. This code says create table customer, that's the name of the table. And then we have the individual columns that we list out. So we have the ID, which is an integer right here. We have the name, which is text, it's a string. In many SQL languages, it's called varchar. And then we give it a length, because the length is important. The smaller the length, the less space it will take up on our computer. And then same thing with address. So we have example addresses here, and that address is a column called address. It is a type of character or text, varchar, and we give it a length of 255. And then same thing with phone number. In this case, the example uses text as well and just gives it a shorter length because it's a phone number, but it could also be a number type, maybe like an integer. Sometimes it's better to use text for phone numbers because not all phone numbers are exactly the same. So that was creating a table. So we created the table, maybe we put some data into it, right? So maybe it looks something like this, for example. Now the question is, how do we use that data? So to write, to get information from our data, we need to make a query. A query is basically we ask for some information. This is an example query, and we have to write this query in SQL. So every query will look kind of similar to this. We start with a select. Select means we are querying. And then every query will also have this from part, from product. So this product is an example table. We have maybe a table of product names. So maybe you have some socks, maybe you have t-shirts, maybe you have a computer. Those are all products, and maybe they're all in this table. So this part, it tells us the table that we're going to select from. And then this part tells the database management system that this is a query. So this is how all queries look like. This star here, we will talk about in a little bit. And this ending part here, it's like a period at the end of a sentence. It just tells us that the query is done. So now let's talk about the individual parts of an SQL query. Some examples of the different types of things we can do. So first we'll talk about the select. So we saw that select star example. It doesn't have to be a star. You can put other things in here. You can put column names in here. And so what the select does is it only picks the columns that you give it. If you say star, select star, the star means everything. So this select star part would just give the entire database. But because in this example, we are doing select ID and name from product, if this is the product table, we are only going to return the ID and the name. So the table itself, the data, has the price, but we don't care about the price. And so we only select ID and name. But it'll still return all IDs and all names. What if we only want a specific ID or a specific name? Or essentially, we're only interested in a specific product. To do that, we can use the where. So when we say select star from product, that means we're selecting things from the product table. We can use this where name equals pen. Yeah, it's hard to understand a little bit. But yeah, so we're selecting from this table. And so let's see. So we have this name, this row right here that we're interested in, right? It has a name of pen. So we can tell the query where name equals pen. Name is the name of the column. Pen is the value that we're interested in. Where name equals pen, select star from product. So that will return just this row. Same thing here. We can say where price is greater than or equal to 100. So we can look at these other rows. The price of the pen is $2.50. And the price of the chair is $50. So those are not greater than or equal to 100. Only the only thing is the dining table, which has a price of 100. So that's why this will only select this row. If there were other things that had a price of greater than or equal to 100, they would also show up. Okay, there are other things we can do. So we can select the maximum or the minimum value by choosing the column and then putting min for the minimum or max for the maximum. And then that will only give us the value that is the maximum or the minimum. Someone's asking a question, why does the ID not have a length? Let's go back. So the ID is an integer, and the integer has a fixed length. So you don't really control the length of the integer. So that's why. And there are other types like characters that you actually do control the length for. Okay, so back to the maximum and min. If we had more data here, we would, and if they were larger than the examples, then the max would show up. So this is really nice if you're, let's say, interested in the cheapest item that you can get. Maybe you want to buy a bunch of pens, and so you can use this to select the actual minimum price to know how many you can buy. And then another example that we can use is order by. So order by just changes the order that you get items back. So by default, when you make a query, the order of your results could be different. So if you use order by, you can tell the database management system how to order your items. This example, we are ordering by price. So you see up here, the order was first the pen, then the dining table, then the chair. But that wasn't sorted. It was not in the right order. So when we say order by price, and this ASC means ascending, increasing, we have first the pen, then the chair, and then the dining table. And we can look at the prices, and they are increasing. So they're in the right order. Okay, so that was a lot, and it's probably a little confusing. Let's do a practice example so we can just get some more practice with SQL or SQL. So let's say we have this product table again, and we have a question. And our question is, what is the name of the product with a price of $50? $50, 50 yen. We don't actually know what this is. But, so how do we write a SQL query, an SQL query for this? So we can start with the basic query structure that we saw. We know we have to have a select something from something. So let's start with the from part. So what are we selecting here? Remember the from is the table that we want to use.
50 from product.
Chair.
Oh, someone said it.
Chair.
Chair? Is chair the name of the table? Chair is an item in the table.
Product.
Product, that's right. Yeah, so we want select something from product. Product is the table, so we're going to select from product. Okay, so now if we look at this little orange, we're going to kind of try to visualize what we're grouping. So right now, all we're saying is we're selecting from product. So really, we're kind of talking about the whole giant table. It's not very giant. It's only 3, but it might be more, you can think. So now we want to not select the columns that we are not interested in. We only want to select the column that we care about. So which column should go here?
Chair.
Chair.
Close. So this is a...
Price.
50.
Price.
So this is the name... Oh. What's the name of the column?
2.
2.
That's the row though, right? So this is the row.
Name.
Price.
Name.
Price.
That's right, name. Yeah, so we want the name. You see how this orange box is now shrunk? So we are only selecting the name now. Okay, so now we're selecting the names, but we're selecting all the names. And that's not what we want. We only want the product with the price of 50, right? So we can use where, right, to filter it out. So now we need to say select name from product where something. Does anyone have an idea of what should go here? Price. Okay. Yeah, okay. Price. Price what?
Price.
So we want the price to be
Equal 50.
exactly. Price is equal to 50, just like that, where price equals 50. So now we've done it. So now the answer is chair. And so that's how you can build a query. You start with the table that you're interested in, and then you go from there. You filter things down. Well done, everyone. Okay. So now we're going to go back into the breakout rooms and we're going to practice with this. So we have some data that everyone has gone through a form and just submitted some fun data like your name, your height, your favorite character. So we have some of that data and we're going to practice writing SQL statements. So ganbatte. Well done, everyone. And go ahead and enjoy.